All right, guys, this is a quick video of a percent of a number. Okay, there's really two ways that we can do it. So I'm gonna start off talking about the percent proportion. So in your percent proportion, your formula is the part over the whole equals the percent over 100. So this number is always going to be 100. And your percent always goes over 100. So if you're given the percent, this is where it will always go. Okay, the reason why I have is over of out here is because you'll see in some of our problems, like when we get right here, it says is what. So whatever comes after is going to be your part. Whatever comes after of is the whole. Okay, so our first example, we've got 42% of 76 is what? So all we're doing is plugging in the numbers into our formula. We have the percent, so it goes where the percent goes over 100. We have the whole, so that means it goes in our denominator. And we are looking for the part, so that means our numerator is the x. So now all we're going to do is just solve our proportion using our steps for solving a proportion. So in this case, since we see there's no easy way to just multiply something times 76 to get 100 or divide, then I simplified, since I see both of these numbers are divisible by 4. And that gave me x over 19 equals 42 over 25. So 76 divided by 4 is the 19. 100 divided by 4 gives you the 25. The numerators are still the same. Okay, at this point, all you can really do is cross multiply and then divide. So remember, once we do that, you need to show your steps algebraically. So x times 25, and then 19 times 42. Move over to the side and show all work. So that gives us 25x equals 798. Now divide both sides by 25, and you get that x is 31.92 exactly. Now if it asks you to round to the nearest whole number, then that means it's about 32. And this little squiggly equal sign basically means approximately or about. It says it's not exactly 32, but it's pretty close to it. Okay, we have a second example, which says, what percent of 50 is 32? So it's asking for the percent. It says what percent, so that's our variable. Okay, and it's trying to take it out of 50. So that means that's going to be our total or our whole. And then we have 36 is our part. So it's asking, when I do 36 out of 50, what percent is that? So we have 36 over 50 equals x over 100. And remember, if you also want to, we've also talked about how to take our fractions and change it to a decimal, and then you can change your decimal to a percent. So that's also another option if you want. But when you do the percent proportion, you just automatically get the percent as your answer. So this one is a pretty simple one to solve. Excuse the phone moving. We can easily see that if we're going from 50 to 100, that's just multiplying by 2. So 36 times 2 gives us 72. And since this number goes right here and it's over the 100, that's automatically our percent. Okay, example 3. We have 30 is 56% of what? So we have 30, and we're trying to find out what percent is that of some other number. So that means we're taking part of a number. So 30 is the part, 56 is the percent, and we're trying to find the whole this time. So the part goes in the numerator, the whole is the denominator, so that's our x. Percent is always over 100. So I saw that I could divide both of these by 4 to simplify and give me some smaller numbers first. So I end up with 30 over x equals 14 over 25. I started to go ahead and cross multiply and divide, but I see that both of these numbers are at least divisible by 2. So let's make them a little smaller. So 30 divided by 2 gives us this 15. 14 divided by 2 gives us this 7. Now bring the denominators down. So now at this point, we have to cross multiply and divide. So when we cross multiply, these two, that gives us 7 times x. And then these two is 15 times 25. So now we're at 7x equals 375. which means we divide both sides by 7 to get our final answer. And again, show all your work on the side. So it equals this, even though it keeps going. But if we want to round that off to the nearest whole number, it's about 54. Okay, and one last example. And this one, we are given the percent and we're given the whole, and it wants the part. So it's pretty much kind of like the first example that we did. So that means the part is our x, so it's the numerator. The whole is the denominator. And if we give the percent, it always goes over 100. So this one was a pretty simple solve as well, because we have a 75 and 100. So think of quarters. Okay, 3 quarters and 4 quarters. So if I divide 75 by 25, I get 3. If I divide 100 by 25, I get 4. Numerators are the same. From here, you see that 4 goes into 24 evenly. So 4 times 6 is 24. So multiply 3 times 6, and you get x equals 18. Okay, there's one other thing that I want to show you that may be a little bit easier than your percent proportion, but you will have to be given your percent and your total in order to do this. So you can convert your percent to a decimal first, and then you can multiply. So here's what that looks like. Okay, if we have 42% of 76 is what? Here we're given the percent, and this is our total. So I can convert my percent to a decimal. So remember, move your decimal point to the left 2 times to go from percent to decimal. So we get a decimal of 42 hundredths. Now we're going to take this decimal and we're going to multiply it by the number we're given in the problem. So notice I basically did the same exact example as example 1 on the other side, and we get the same answer because it's the same numbers. So once we multiply this out, we get 3192. And remember, you count your decimal places. So we have 1, 2. So that means we move over 1, 2 times. And that is finding percent of a number. Make sure that you use these to do your assignment.